On today's episode of No Gear, No Glory, we're continuing the work on our 2018 Toyota Tacoma. Stay tuned! One of the next things I gotta fix before I put everything back together is this hood right here. As you can see, we've got a bit of a bend in the hood from the damage that happened in this little fender bender. It cracked the paint in the process, and so what I want to do is try to bend the hood back a little. We're gonna touch up this paint. It's gonna be interesting bending back this hood and getting it to look right. I have some paintless dent repair kits, and that'll help tap it back in place. Not well versed at this type of thing at the moment, but we will try our absolute best. Well, first thing I want to do is see if we can just bend it back in place a little bit, just to make it look a little bit better and get it a little bit straighter. I don't have like a proper tool for that, so I'm just going to go rudimentary and use some pliers. What I don't want to do is ruin the paint even more or do more damage to the metal. Get a little bit of a straighter line here. Work on this right here a little bit. That's quite a bit better. Now we're going to start touching up the paint. We got to sand this off and get rid of this crack in this paint, which pretty much goes about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches. Go a little bit beyond that, and then start over. Here we go. I'm starting with a 400 grit sandpaper just because we want to break down this paint real quick. So we're going to get real aggressive right away. Definitely have some highs and lows in here. This is definitely a high, definitely a high. Got down to bare metal. Just shows the imperfections of the dent that exists from that bend. There we go. So that's where we're left. Not too horrible. We're gonna have to tape this off and prime it before we paint it because we got bare metal. But unfortunately, I'm getting sprinkled on right now. Can't do that out here. More to come, I'll be right back. All right, I've already cleaned the surface, and we're just basically gonna mask around this, just beyond where my sand line was. And then I'm gonna put some more barrier here so we can prime real quick, paint, and clear. So basically what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put a little paper around here to diffuse the spray, because I really wanna focus it in this area. A little bit of overspray is fine, a little bit of overspray of paint is fine, and a little overspray of clear is fine. We just don't want hard lines, so this will help diffuse that spray. Let me show you. I actually got this method from Chris Fix. He has a great video on touch-up paint. You should check it out. This bottom piece, I'm just going to back mask so that we don't get a bunch of paint in the background. Alright, that first coat covered pretty good, so this coat should probably do it. I went a little heavy on this side, so we got a little drip mark that we'll end up having to clean up tomorrow in daylight. But for now, this will do. Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome to day 2 of fixing this 2018 Toyota Tacoma. We got the paint laid last night, primer and paint, a couple layers of paint. I think we're okay. We're gonna go ahead and throw a new layer of clear on here. Probably do 2 coats of that. And then we will go ahead and give it a light sand to smooth over, a little buff to try to blend in the original coat of paint and the new coat of paint so we don't have any hard lines where the tape is. And then hopefully we'll be done with that. Get the headlight in, get the fender on, and we'll button this project up. Here we go. Here's our fender in the paint booth, and I know it's got the cardboard still on it, but I just want to make sure it'll sit on my rollers to hold it while we paint. Okay, and seems to be all right. So let's get that unboxed and start prepping that for paint. One of the first things we want to do to prepare for paint is do a light sand on here to scuff it up. Make sure the surface is prepared to receive the paint and the paint can adhere. And then we're going to wipe it down again, make sure it's free of contaminants before we lay our first layer of paint. Here we go. Now I'm using an 800 grit sandpaper, and basically we just want to get this surface ready to accept paint. Give it some bite. One of the problems that we're having right here is that in shipping this just got damaged. This should come out to kind of a nice point, and as you can see it's bent here, and then right here as well this should lay flat, and it's got a nice curve to it, so we're gonna flatten that out as well. Here we go. Alright, so at this point we're getting ready for final paint prep. I'm just gonna again wipe this down with a alcohol solution, get all the contaminants off so the paint wants to adhere as well as possible to a clean surface, and then we'll start throwing some paint. Alright, clean it up. Alright, now that we wiped it down, we're just going to give it a few minutes to make sure that all the moisture is evaporated, and we'll start throwing some paint. Before I start spraying, I'm going to do a test pattern on here just to make sure our tip is good and we don't have any clogs or anything, even though I haven't used it yet. Pretty good. Alright, layer one. Let's give her about 10 minutes and we'll come back for layer two. So we still need to get a little bit more coats here. I think I got plenty on this side. We're just going to go a couple quick passes here. Alright, we're going to let that dry about 30 minutes and we're going to hit it with clear. Oh boy! It's not perfect, but I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, not so good news for me. This can of clear that I just bought, which is brand new, had a catastrophic failure in the nozzle for some reason, and as I was doing just like a test spray off camera, the nozzle was leaking underneath and bubbled everywhere and just dripped a ton of clear coat all over the fender. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to fix that. I have another can of clear that I can use. That's not that big of a deal, but the project is now severely screwed up on the clear coat. That I'll have to figure out how to sand before I put this back on. So that's an update for now. Disappointed about that one. Ouch. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, we'll call that coat number 1.5. Alright, last coat. Here we go. Alright, there should be. 2 coats should do it. And then we'll have to fix the drips tomorrow, hopefully, if we have time. The fender's got to go on tomorrow. The light's got to go on tomorrow. So, woo-wee. Got my work cut out for me. If only I knew what I was doing all the way. Good night, guys. See you tomorrow. So I have the fender just kind of basically set in place. Now we just have to massage it in everywhere. First glance, one of the first things I got to do is figure out how to get this headlight bezel piece to attach on top of the fender, because this is sitting really high. Need to figure out the attachment points on this fender. This fender doesn't seem to be 100% OEM, so I think we're missing an attachment piece under here. Not a big deal. And then of course the door fitment. We want to make sure that it fits the door properly so the door can open and close. So I think I'm going to start with the attachment points behind the door, and we'll go from there. Now we also have a bolt that goes down in here that attaches near the door frame that goes in this way, so we have to go down through the fender. Now we've got our 3 attachment points at the bottom, 2 on the door. We're going to start going across the top here. We got our 3 attachment points here, here, and here. And of course we have the headlight as well, which needs to sit on top of this piece. So we'll take some massaging to get that in place. Overall, it's going together pretty good. Now when you're putting this back together, this edge of this headlight needs to sink into this body line right here. So try to find that piece and then massage it together so that your bolt holes will line up. Before we hard bolt everything down, let's go ahead and pull down the hood and see how that aligns. As of right now, we have a pretty big gap in the hood, so we're going to have to massage these mounting points into place so that the fender can move in and line up quite a bit better. Right now, that's an ugly gap. Alright, so let's work on that next. Now getting this hood to line up is really about where these attachment points are all lined up. Again, we had to massage these into place and bend them back yesterday, so it's just a matter of just kind of lining them up, moving them inward so that the hood has a very small gap. Let's go ahead and bolt this hardware in for the front end and the headlight so that's hard mounted where we want it to be, and we can marry up this fender and headlight properly. Let's test that hood again. That is significantly better. Let's compare that to the other side. See, we still have quite a ways to go, but quite a bit better than it was. Just keep on massaging it in. One of the issues I'm having aligning this hood, this fender, and this headlight is this right here. This isn't a Toyota OEM fender, and this isn't a Toyota OEM headlight. These are repops of some sort, and these don't match up quite right like this side should. As you can see, there's a plastic bit where this screws into. On this side, it's not really working right. So what I'm going to do is, instead of struggling to make it fit when it doesn't want to, I'm going to get a nut and a bolt, and we'll bolt this down kind of second hand. Make it look right, make it fit together better without putting stress where stress doesn't belong. Alright, here we go. Sure how well we can see up here, but basically there's few clips that go right in here. Now they're kind of a weird square shaped clip that I don't have any of, and I'm do have some of these body clips. I'm just wondering if they'll work at all. Seems like that might work okay. Let's try that. Yeah, they're kind of loose. Let's try a different one. And these might work. Kind of thick. Yeah. There we go. Nice. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna grab a couple more for up here in the top of the fender. Fender is in place. Fender liner is in place. All right, I do believe I am done. You know, it's not 100%. It's not like gonna be OEM. I wish I had the clips and some of the pieces that broke away, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. The fender's in place. There's a clip that's missing right here, but that's all right. These are all buttoned down. The pieces underneath are all, so this is solid. This is solid. Fit and finish for this fender, it's not great. Overall, if this were my vehicle, my personal vehicle, I would probably go ahead and buy OEM, which is quite a bit more expensive. However, I do believe you're probably getting a superior fit and finish. All right, pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. So that's gonna wrap this one up, and that Tacoma has been quite a project. It took me about 2 full days between pulling it apart, fixing all the parts, getting the paint, everything done on the fender and the hood, and then putting it all back together. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It's not exactly a full, well-rounded project. Again, I didn't sand the fender down, I didn't sand the hood down, and it looks okay at best right now. We're going to wrap that fender so you won't even see the paint. It's really about the now and then. And the hood, I'll have to get back to because I just ran out of time to get that done. But anyways, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching this video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. I hope you learned something. If not, I know I did. And so it was well worth the time for me to spend on it. Come back and watch some of our content in the future. Check out some of the stuff we got in the past. And you guys take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.